appreciate you joining. Tonight, we have Felicia Houston again, who is leading our wellness series. Felicia is a licensed mental health professional. She's a consultant, she's a speaker, she's a facilitator. She's worked with us now for years and helped us to, like last month, to stress less. And so we are going to learn another tool in our toolbox for maintaining our mental wellness. And so I'm going to turn it over to Felicia.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Good evening. I am not going to be before you very long because I want us to get to the most important part of tonight, which is the demonstration, so that we can learn some things about cooking and what are some things that we can do differently in regards to cooking. And so what I want to say before we get started and before I introduce our presenter for this evening is that our relationship with food is a big thing. So if you can see my virtual background is all about you are what you eat. And as you guys can see, there's some healthy options behind me, but I'm going to be honest and transparent with you. I don't always, eat those healthy options, but it's what we're supposed to do. And so when we talk about wellness, what we eat does determine how we feel. There is a connection between our food and our mood. And I know that everyone knows that, but many studies have shown that the connection between our food choices and our overall health, it helps us to keep a healthy body weight. And by choosing wisely what we eat, it helps to prevent many chronic diseases. And so we want to really keep that in mind. And like I said, there is a connection between what we eat and our mental health, and it's called the food-mood connection. So there is a connection. And if we try our best to improve our diet, it can improve our mood, it can give us more energy, and it helps us to think more clearly. So I don't know about anybody else, when my eating is off, it affects my thinking, it affects my concentration, it affects everything for me. It's hard for me to focus when my eating is not well balanced. And so the other thing that I wanted to share with you is that a balanced diet should include fruit and vegetables, whole grains, low-fat dairy, lean protein. So I guess that would not include my fried chicken, but lean protein, and limited amounts of sodium, saturated fat, and added sugar. And then some things that I wanted to share with you is some questions that you may want to ask of your doctor is, how can you use food and nutrition to improve your mood? So just think about that. Like, how can I use food and nutrition to improve my mood? And if anybody has any responses to that, feel free to put it in the chat. How can I use food and nutrition to improve my mood? Something else you may want to ask your doctor is, do I need to change my eating habits so that I can feel better? So sometimes, our mood is off. There's a huge connection between the food that we eat and our mood. And then the last question you may want to ask your doctor is, should I follow a specific diet? There are tons of different diets out there, but you want to know what's the best diet for you. So not the latest fad, but you want to know what's the best diet for you in regards to what works best for your body type. So without me going on anymore, I want to introduce the person who is going to tell us about cooking and the ingredients and what allows us to make these healthy choices. So our speaker for this evening, our presenter for this evening is Miss Maureen Matter. And Maureen is the proud owner of Dunning's Gourmet Market and Deli in Flossmoor, Illinois. And she has been the owner for 25 years. It's been in her family. It's a family-owned business. And Maureen does amazing things. This summer, she did the Battle of the Chefs, and it was a phenomenal event. They battled it out on the stage for a charity. And when you go into Dunning's Market, you can get anything from the jerk chicken burger, which is one of my favorites, the salmon pasta salad, which is another one of my favorites, chicken salad, anything that you want is high quality, and I've never had a bad thing from her. So she is going to lead our demonstration this evening because she is qualified. I am not qualified to do that. If I did it, it probably wouldn't be very balanced or healthy. So I'm going to turn it over to Maureen, and if you guys could give a warm welcome for Maureen. And if you have questions or comments, feel free to put it in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat and we'll ask her questions as we go along. You don't have to wait until the end to ask questions. Feel free to put your questions or comments in the chat. Someone named Vicky said, "Hi, Maureen." So,
hello, hi everyone.
So I am going to turn it over to Maureen, and don't feel like you have to take a whole bunch of notes and things of that sort, because we are going to send you something afterwards. And our tech person, Neil, has been so kind. He already put the menu on your website so you can get all of the ingredients and do this later on your own. Okay, but this is going to help you get started and hopefully get you motivated. So I'm going to turn it over to Maureen. So let's welcome Maureen.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much. I'm going to do a couple of different things this evening if time permits, but I just want to talk a little bit about food and nutrition real quickly first. And I could do it while I'm chopping and talking about things. So, what I decided to do was make a homemade marinara sauce, and then we're going to make a chicken parmesan, but then in a homemade salad dressing. And from there, I'm going to show you some different variations you can do with any of these items to make different meals out of them for yourself. But and then highlighting what I think are kind of the most important things along the way. So I'm going to start with this marinara sauce and then just kind of talk as I'm going along here, but let me make sure you can see this. So to make a marinara sauce, a homemade sauce, which is going to be so much cheaper to begin with than buying a jar of sauce in a grocery store, and way better for you. It starts with a can of really good tomatoes. Now, I opened it upside down, as you can see. But the point is, it doesn't really matter the tomatoes. Like, I like San Marzano tomatoes, but this is a Pompadour tomato, and this is a tomato puree. The important thing is to read the ingredients on the can. So oftentimes with canned tomatoes, they will have added sugar, added salt. And salt and sugar are these two culprits. They're kind of quiet and insidious, and they invade our diets in ways that are really unhealthy for us. So if you just read the labels of what you're buying at the store, that's like half the battle. So whatever tomatoes you like to get, whether they're whole, diced, chopped, doesn't matter, because you're going to blend them later anyway. Just make sure that there's no added salt and no added sugar to the tomatoes themselves. That's the important thing. Okay, so first I'm taking an onion. I'm going to, let's see how we can do this. Okay. There, can everybody see this? Okay, yeah?
Yes.
So here's how you cut an onion so you don't cut your hands off. This is also a really good thing to learn, right? Cut the ends off, so now it's laying flat. Any round vegetable, cut the ends off so it lays flat. You can kind of cheat a little bit, cut that end off, peel your onion. Right. So now, cut it in half. Go halfway down, curl your fingers, use them as a guide, then you won't cut your fingers off, and you can make your slices uniform. So we're going to dice one onion. If you like onions, you can put two in there. You know, it's kind of what you like. This is kind of a bigger onion, so I'm just going to use one. And throw that to the side a little bit, right? So I'm going to take that onion, and now I'm going to take some fresh garlic. So I buy garlic already peeled because it takes forever to do it, because I use so much garlic at work. You can buy garlic like this already peeled in the grocery store, or you can buy a little tiny bulb of garlic, peel it yourself. Or you can get the chopped garlic in the water. I don't really like the garlic in the water, and I feel like it has a funny taste to it. But if that's all there is, and that's what you want to use, and you like it, then you can use it. What you don't want to use is garlic salt. Because again, salt and sugar are these like, silent culprits that add all this extra bad stuff to our blood. It raises our blood sugar, it raises your blood pressure, and kind of just watching those two items will make a difference. Okay, so now I'm taking the onion, and I have my pan here, right? I'm gonna throw a little bit of olive oil in the pan, extra virgin olive oil. You can use an olive oil blend if you like, whatever you prefer. Put them in the pan. Take your onions and garlic together. Here, you can't see. And I'm throwing them in the pan. And I'm gonna put it on the stove to saute until like the onions are gonna turn translucent and you can kind of smell the garlic, and then you'll know that it's cooked long enough. So put it on a little bit of a low heat, like a medium heat is good, and let that cook. Meanwhile, I'm taking some fresh parsley, which I've already washed all this, but if you buy it at the grocery store, you want to make sure you rinse it off, you wash it. Also, some fresh basil that I'm going to throw in there later for flavor. So you rough chop. You're just rough chopping the parsley. I'm going to chop all of this because I'm going to use some of it later for another item. So and again, like you take your French knife, you use it like a fan. So this side is stable, and then just chop away. Get your okay, so put that to the side. So I'm gonna let that saute. I'm just putting this to the side for a minute. And then now as a variation, I want to show you. So what you're doing first is making a basic marinara sauce. So it's going to be tomato, onion, garlic, and an herb. And the herbs can either be fresh basil, fresh parsley, or both, whatever you decide to do. And you can, so that's kind of your base. And then from that marinara sauce, if you want to, you could add peppers, right? And saute some peppers and make it as a pepper sauce. I like to use red, yellow, and green. Sometimes I use green, it kind of depends. Sometimes I don't really like green peppers. Depends on what I'm using them for. But for this particular sauce, I am just going to use red, yellow, and green peppers because I want to show you later another thing you can make with it. So I'm going to take this other pan. I have a saute pan right here, and I'm going to throw these peppers in the saute pan and let them cook in here, separate from the marinara sauce, because I'm going to add it to it later. Because maybe you have people that don't like peppers, or maybe you want 2 different recipes. So you have your marinara sauce base, and then when you saute some peppers with it, and then you have a completely different dish. So while that is sauteing, I'm gonna move on to this chicken parmesan. So again, everybody loves Italian food. We all love Italian food. It's usually filled with a million trillion calories. So this is a way to make a delicious dinner I mean, I'm not gonna even say like it's low fat or it's low anything. It's just using different ingredients and being a little more conscious about what goes in, what you're putting in, what you're eating, right?
Mm.
So like the chicken Parmesan you're gonna make at home is gonna have a lot less calories in it than the chicken Parmesan you would get at like Olive Garden or something like that.
Okay.
So I'm starting with, these are boneless, skinless chicken breast. So this is an 8-ounce breast, right? They're sized. When you trim them, they're really nice looking. They're 4 ounces each. So you know your portion, it's a 4-ounce portion. And so the grocery store sells giant chicken breasts. They're called random, and they're gigantic because that's just how it is. So when you get these giant chicken breasts, the best thing to do with them, I'm going to demonstrate on this guy, even though he's not really thick enough, but you can take that giant chicken breast, cut it in half this way, right? So you're making thinner chicken for yourself. You could ask at the grocery store, maybe at the butcher department, maybe they'll do it for you. I don't really know if they will, but you could ask them for sure. But this is the key, right? So you slice them, so you would have then a thinner, nicer piece to be able to cook with. So you can't smell the garlic and the onion in my house right now, but it smells really good. It's delicious. So I'm gonna just give them a stir. And then I'm also gonna just stir the peppers so they don't burn and go back to these. So like the important thing with the chicken breast, like I said, is to know what your weights are on them. So if you can ask them to do this for you, great. If not, make sure you have a sharp knife and you can slice them yourself really easy.
So Maureen, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
We want to know about that knife because your knife someone put in the chat that cutting seems very therapeutic. So we want to know, how do you know if it's a good knife? What's a good knife?
Oh, so here's the thing, like a good knife, like this knife actually is a gift I gave to myself. So I'm like, I love knives and I love this knife, but a good knife, it has to have it's the steel blade, like what the steel is made of on the knife is what's important. Okay. And then of course the handle as well. So this is a high carbon steel knife. It actually comes from Japan. But you don't have to get this fancy. I got, Cutco, they have good knives. Okay. And the nice thing about Cutco is that they will sharpen your knives for you for free. You send them in and they send them back. So they stay sharp. The most important thing about a knife is that the edges stay sharp. So like at work, I have a knife service and they come every 2 weeks and they change out all our knives. So, oh my God, we can't wait until they come because we're like, ugh. The dull blades make us crazy. Excuse me, I'm washing my hands in the chicken. So those are options. But then if you wanted to get yourself a nice gift or get somebody a gift, you can get them they have them at Bed Bath & Beyond. I sell a knife at Dunning's. I'm not trying to do a plug for Dunning's, but I do sell a nice knife there. But the important thing is to make sure that you want to feel the weight of it, make sure that the weight in your hand is not too heavy for you. And then most importantly, it's like maintaining it. You can't put them in the dishwasher and you have to keep the edges sharp. So if you're not going to be someone that's going to have someone sharpen your knives for you, I say go buy some Cutco knives, and they're expensive, but they're worth the investment. They do stand by their products, and they work. So, but it's mostly maintaining the sharpness of the knife is what you need to do. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so chicken breasts are thinned. And you know, there's a Cutco rep that I know. I only bought peelers from him because I don't need to buy knives because that I do love, I'm like in love with that Cutco peeler because it works so well. And if anybody is interested in that connection, I'll be happy to share that with Felicia and she can pass the information along. But he's actually a really good guy and a really good Cutco person. You would think I have stock in Cutco, but I really don't. I do not. They just work pretty well. Okay, on to the chicken. So here's our chicken breast, right? And so I am going to season these again. If we're thinking in terms of salt and sugar, salt and sugar, salt and sugar. We want to know how much salt's in our diet. We're on a low sodium diet, and we want to know, you know, we want to know the sugar content. So what I'm seasoning these chicken breasts with, this is a seasoning called Roma seasoning. It's a blend of, it has rosemary, thyme, oregano, and marjoram in there, and a little bit of crushed red pepper. But what it doesn't have in here is salt, which is why I like to use it. So I'm going to use a little bit of this. Sprinkle it on just to season the chicken, right? And then I'm going to use a little bit of, so you have a few options here. One option, I like these, like Alessi grinders, because this is sea salt, and sea salt is different than your regular, like Morton salt you'll get, you know, you'll buy in the little barrel there, cracked pepper. And they just give more flavor. They have better minerals. They have minerals in them that your body can use, and it has better flavor, like that salt flavor. So you actually use less salt. So when people say salt is salt, it's just like not true. It's not all salts are created equal. And if you're ever in the southern suburbs and you stop at my store, I'll open some salts up and you can taste them for yourself and see the difference, because it makes a big difference. So this is another salt, and this is like one of my personal favorites. So this is Maldon sea salt. This comes from England, from Malden actually, and they're flakes. See, they're like a beautiful salt flake. So you just need just a tiny bit, and it'll give enough flavor on what you're cooking. You kind of like grind it in your hands here, right? So I season these up with some Roma seasoning and just a tiny bit of salt. And now if I wanted to, I could dip them in some egg. So these are panko breadcrumbs. They're unsalted panko breadcrumbs. You can buy them at the grocery store. But I don't like to dip mine in egg because, again, like, I don't know, if you're watching your salt and your sugar, you're probably watching your cholesterol too. And it's a small amount of cholesterol, but you don't really need it. So I'm going to sprinkle these. You kind of pound it in there, right? So the breadcrumbs they stick to the chicken. Some people use milk, you know, as a liquid. I just don't use anything because I just think it sticks on there just fine. So I'm gonna pound these out. I'm a big fan of using like the same pan if I can too, because, you know, I got to do a lot of dishes at Dunning's, and the less pans I can use, the happier I am. So here's so those peppers that I was cooking, there they are, see? I'm gonna take these out of the pan and put them in a bowl. I'm gonna use the same pan, put it to a medium heat. It's got a little bit of oil in there, but I'm gonna put a little more oil in it. And again, I always just use olive oil. Sometimes I use an olive oil blend. But with olive oil blends, they will have, some of them will have like soybean oil with it. So if you're allergic to soy, that wouldn't be a good oil blend for you to use. And then does anybody have any questions about like olive oils or first press oils? Let me put this down a little bit so you can see it better. Or anything like that, or you're good. So here's our chicken breast. I'm going to, this oil is now heated up. I'm gonna put them in the pan till they brown lightly. And then in the meanwhile, I'm gonna go back over to that marinara sauce I was making, which is now nice and brown, see? And I'm going to dump the tomatoes in there. Now these tomatoes that I used, they are whole tomatoes. And as I said, it's no problem because I'm gonna blend it all in a little while anyway. I am gonna add a half a can of water because those are really thick. Okay, so we'll just let that cook until it comes to a boil, which won't take long. And then in the meanwhile, we're just turning up the chicken parmesan, and I'm gonna take some of this parsley, just throw it in one of these cups out of the way and clean this mess out of the way here. So give me 1 second. And then you notice that I did the chicken last. And I did the chicken last because if you do the chicken first, you're going to contaminate every single thing on when you're cooking.
We have a question. We have a question about vegetable oil and using crystal vegetable oil. Is that a good oil to use if your family doesn't like olive oil?
Well, you can use a vegetable oil, sure. Just make sure that it has, I mean, if you wanted to use corn oil or something like that, or just a vegetable oil blend, sure, you can use that. I wouldn't use Crisco, like, I wouldn't use like the oils that are like solid oils, like a Crisco or something. Those have been hydrogenated so that they get that solid state. So I would just make sure you use a liquid oil, but sure, you can use whatever oil you like, you can use it. If you like sunflower oil, you just want to be careful. Avocado oil is good. Some oils, they talk about a smoke point with oils, you know, so some are gonna have like a higher smoke point than others, which means when you're warming it up, it's not going to be able to take a high temperature. So you just want to be cognizant of that when you're using oil. So maybe you're going to have to cook something at a lower heat or medium heat rather than a higher heat. It's no problem.
Okay, thank you.
So these, I mean, olive oils, some people hate the taste of olive oil. See, I'm turning these now. You know, it can have a really strong flavor, which is why it's nice to use a blend. Or if you use, like the lighter the color of oil, the farther down the press it is. So olive oil, like a first press oil, that means they pick the olives, they take them to the press, and they squeeze the oil out of it. That first press, that would be like the very first time they squeeze the oil out, and it's dark and green in color, very rich in flavor, very strong flavor. And if you do not like olive oil, you will hate it. But then you can get to a second press or a third press. So here's what these look like right now. I'm gonna throw them back on the stove, let them brown up a little bit more. But you can get to if you see in the store, sometimes they'll have a first press or a second press, and they're different colors. They're clear. You could use that, and that's just fine. And maybe you would like the taste of it because it's more mild, but maybe not. Okay, so it goes on for another minute. Now, I'm gonna take my pot off. So let me see, I'm sorry I keep moving this. I hope that you guys can see this stuff. So that's what this looks like right now. It's kind of liquidy. However, I'm going to take, so this is something like, if you don't have one of these, this little wand, you know, Cuisinart wand blender, they're really handy. They're worth it for sure. I have to plug this in. Sorry, though. I don't know where to plug it in there. 1 second. Oh, I'll just do this. So I'm just going to blend this tomatoes with this wand. And these are great, like if you're making soup or you want to make a shake, or these are just, they come in so handy to cook. Okay, so as you can see now it's nice and see the, trying to see where the camera is there. There, see it's nice. See how thin it is. Now it's a nice sauce. Real simple.
Yeah.
Now
Good. It looks delicious.
it's so good. And now I'm just going to take some of these fresh herbs and throw them in there. Now, what you can see, what I didn't put in here was salt. I didn't put any salt in here at all because I don't really cook with salt. I use it like as a finishing. And so this is done, and then I would taste it. But the thing is, like, the cheese is salty. You know, the stuff you put salt in your water to cook pasta. So, or just like wait and taste your food, and then put a little, and then it usually works out better that way. Okay, so here's the sauce. Now, I'm gonna take these off. Here's the, there they are. Maybe I'll use this instead. I just don't know what this is. Okay, so now we're making the Parmesan, right? And again, remember, I like to use the same pan for everything. So I'm gonna take these chicken out, right? And I'm gonna line it in the bottom of this pan here. Oh, you know, you can do it on a cookie sheet. You can probably see it better if I do it on a cookie sheet. So I'm gonna line these guys up on cookie sheet, all of them. Let me get this guy out of the way. And so here's your chicken, right? Lining this all up on the cookie sheet. And now I'm going to take that same pan that I sauteed the peppers in, and now I put the chicken in. And I'm going to open a bag of spinach and put at least half of it in there because that's probably as much as I'm going to need. I'm going to put it back on the stove. I don't put any oil or anything in there. I'm gonna put a little bit of water so it steams the spinach and let it saute. And it should take just a couple minutes for it to do this. Let me move this. I bet if I move this way, you can probably see. Let's see. There. Okay. So yeah, I'm sauteing the spinach here. I'm gonna just turn the thing up a little bit to just hurry it up. So again, if you wanted to, you could add spinach. I would not add salt. Again, I would just leave the salt for the end after I taste my food and see if it might need a little salt. So these guys, here they are. Let me see. Oh, all right. So I have, this is provolone cheese, sliced provolone cheese. We'll put that in there. This is rosé. All right. These are sauteed. Now,
Maureen, the
Yeah.
rosé, that's for the meal or for drinking? What is?
well, the rosé is for drinking while you're cooking. Absolutely. So I'm popping a little bit of spinach on top of these. And then, well, that was good. So half a bag of spinach. Took care of all of that. And
Maureen, we have another question.
yeah,
The question is, what are good, if any, green veggies for vitamin K restriction?
oh, that's a really good question, right? So if you can't have green vegetables because of vitamin K restriction, well, you can leave them off if you want to do that. But if you wanted to layer it with something on top of there, you could do this. You could, let's take the spinach off of one. You could put, you know, those peppers I sauteed earlier.
Mm-hmm.
If you can eat, if you like peppers, you could definitely put some of those on there.
Okay.
Okay, like that. You could also chop up, so broccoli, is broccoli okay though? I know it's not a green leafy, but it is green. It does have some vitamin K. But you could take zucchini and squash and saute that and kind of lay it on top of there. Because any of the, I think that would work just fine if you wanted to put something else on there, you know, something in the middle, right? But you could do the peppers too. Or you could slice tomatoes, or you could just leave it off altogether. So I'm gonna take I'm taking the cheese and like busting it in half there, putting it on top, see? And then I'm going to take some of the sauce that I made right here and ladle it on the top. So I'm gonna throw these in the oven. I'm gonna take one of these off of here. I'm gonna throw these other ones because I want to show you something with that. I'm gonna pop these in the oven for like maybe another 15 minutes in a 350 oven. You want to see them? Okay, that's what they look like. I'm gonna put them in the oven, and let them bake.
Maureen, I have a question for you. Did you put any on that pan, or you just put the meat just goes on the
You know,
pan?
I just put the meat straight down on there because there's a little bit of oil on it. But
Okay.
you might want to oil it, but I'm gonna tell you something else that'll change your life and make it so easy. It's either to get keep parchment paper at your
Okay.
house. It's
Okay.
very inexpensive. You can line a pan with it, throw it out, and you don't have to clean the pan. The other thing you can do is get like those still pads, they make them, and it's like a reusable thing. Okay, so now, before we get to, I'm gonna show you, okay, so here's the sauce, right? So you can stop there, and with this base sauce, you could then add ground chicken to it. You could add ground beef to it. You could add, you'd obviously cook the chicken or the beef first. You could add chicken Italian sausage to it if you wanted a meat, right? Or you can take the peppers and add the peppers to it. So now you have a pepper sauce. And so this pepper sauce, I use this pepper sauce to make chicken lasagna. So you can take those same I just kind of pulled one out so you could see it, but those same chicken breasts that we had before, you can use those. Slice them up. I then use these lasagna sheets. Again, you read the ingredients. There's like nothing in them. You know, they're perfect. There's no sugar. There's no sodium. And these are a no-bake sheet. So if you're in a hurry, you don't, you know, with like regular lasagna, you gotta boil it and then cook the noodles and all the stuff. And everybody loves lasagna. So you take these. You can see I use my knife for everything. Here's what they look like. They're real thin and they're super tasty. So you could take the pan, right? And I'm just gonna make like a tiny little prototype for you. But I'll write out the recipe so you have it. So you'd put some of the pepper sauce would go in the bottom. Then the sheets of lasagna. And again, you don't bake them, you just pop them right in there. You do need to put more sauce on the top because since they are no bake, you need a little more liquid than you would normally need for lasagna. So you could do this, right? And then take the chicken. There you go. Throw it in there. So now I'm using this is a rosemary Asiago cheese. It's got a kind of a sharper flavor. So then you can use less cheese, you know, because it has more flavor to it. And
what kind of cheese was that, Maureen?
So this is Asiago.
Okay.
This one in particular has rosemary on it, but you could use regular Asiago cheese as well. And I'm just gonna slice it in small pieces, but you can grate it. It may come grated in a bag. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but my grater broke in trouble and I haven't bought another one yet. So I'm just slicing it. So
Maureen, we had a question about what brand is the noodles?
Oh, okay. So these noodles are Granano, Granoro. This is one brand. Barilla makes the no bake noodle as well. Very good. So I put the cheese there, and I'll put a little bit more sauce on the top, and then another There you go. More sauce. Throw it in the oven. Okay. Now we'll throw that in the oven. So in the meanwhile, I think that this other thing are done. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so these look beautiful. See them? Ooh. See how pretty they look? I'll put it on a plate for you. It'll look really pretty. I'm gonna pop this in there. Let the lasagna cook. Okay, now I'm gonna show you. I think I have to plug my thing. I have a low battery. Felicia, I might have to switch to that other computer because it looks like I'm gonna run out of battery on this guy in a minute. Let me see. I'm gonna do this simultaneously here, okay? So the next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna talk to you while I'm trying to fix my technological issues here, is, I mean, that's one thing. I don't know if any of you guys have watched that show. It's called The Bear, and it's set in Chicago, and it's about a restaurant, and like everything that could possibly happen happens in this restaurant, and you know, things fall apart daily. So like while they're cooking, they're, you know, fixing everything, and that's kind of what's happening right now. I'm just gonna see if I can log on to this. Oh wait, it's right here. Great. Let's see. Let me see here. No, it's the same one. It could be. I hope it is, because maybe I could log in there and log out of this one before the battery dies. But in the meanwhile, let me show you how to do. Okay, garlic bread, easiest thing in the world. Everybody loves that. It's filled with all kinds of stuff that you never like, just bad, like fake butter, fake everything. So here's these little loaves of bread. It's just a plain little loaf of bread. You can take it and let's see, cut it. Here's my knife, which I cleaned. Okay, cool. I'm gonna switch one off and go to the other guy, okay? No, sorry.
It's okay.
Hi. Can you see? Can you see? Oh wait. Oh wait.
That's it.
Hold
Okay,
on.
now it
Hold
can. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Got some feedback.
There, that one's off. This one's on. Let's. Okay, how's that?
That's better. We can hear you.
Okay, let's see where the audio is. So sorry. Sorry, guys. 1 second here.
It's okay.
Figure this out. Oh, here we go. Video. There. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Hey.
All
right.
Okay, there you go.
All right. Here we are. Okay, so now there. It's not as clear, but that other battery's about to die, and God only knows where I get that battery from. So, okay, so back to the garlic bread. So here's the bread for the garlic, right? So simple. 2 ways to do it. You can either slice it this way, right?
Okay.
So you have little. I'll pull it up when I'm done here so you guys can see it. So you can either slice it like this, right?
Okay.
So you can do it like that, or you can do it lengthwise, either way. Like this. Butter. But I use butter. I use like real butter. Real butter. I prefer unsalted butter because again, I like to control the amount of salt I'm putting in things. So I use unsalted butter. Some people don't, but I do. So I'm going to take a chunk of this butter. So it's soft, see? And then some of my garlic. And if you have, you can use a garlic press. If you have a garlic press, it works really well for this. Because you want here it is. A little smaller. You don't want to run into giant chunks, right? So here's the garlic press. So the garlic's coming out. There you go. So I'm going to mix that fresh garlic, and you can make this you can keep this in your refrigerator so you would have it handy, and then literally just brush it on the bread, and then you can sprinkle it with some salt from there. You can make it as garlicky if you want, and like that. Close it up, pop it in the oven, wrap it in foil, pop it in the oven for about 15 minutes or so. If you prefer to do it this way, again, it's the same idea. And you would butter it either side, right? I kind of like doing it this way because it gets like, I feel like it gets more garlicky and buttery. But it would be like this, wrap it up in foil, throw it in the oven for about 15 minutes or so. Then you can unwrap the foil so you have a crunchy crust. I'm going to wash my hands. Be right back. Okay, so the chicken is out. The last thing that we're going to talk about is salad dressing. So salad dressing is another one of those things that you buy it, it has all kinds of stuff in it. You don't know what's in there. So I'm going to show you how to make a regular vinaigrette salad dressing. It's like the easiest thing in the world to make. And we make our own dressing at Dunning's. I make my own dressing at home. And everybody, whenever they eat a salad, they just always want to know, oh my gosh, how did you make that salad dressing? You know, what did you put on there? And when you see this, you're just going to be like, you got to be kidding me. So, let me again wash my knife off. Get it from the cutting board. Okay, so salad dressing. Now, so you can use any vinegar you like. It just depends on your personal preference, right? You can use white vinegar if you want it to be like super vinegary, like hit in the back of your throat vinegar. You can use a red wine vinegar. You can use apple cider vinegar. It doesn't matter. I also have, looking for it, a very fancy balsamic vinegar, right? So you can use any one of these. It just depends on your personal preference. Let's see if I have a clear bowl. Okay, so it's a 4-to-1 ratio, however much you want to make. So 1 cup of vinegar, 3 cups of oil, 1/4 cup of vinegar. What would be 1/4 cup of vinegar? If you use a 1/4 cup of vinegar, it'd be like 1.5 cups of oil. It's a 4-to-1 ratio. So that's the only thing to remember. It's a 4-to-1 ratio. And then if you have it and it tastes too vinegary for you, you just have to back off your ratio. So I'm using white vinegar because I have enough white vinegar to show you. So I'm gonna put a cup of white vinegar in here. Oh, by the way, I know that this is 1 quart. That's why I'm not measuring anything. Although I'm someone who doesn't measure things very much, but I'm like the works. I'm like, you put like, I don't know, like this much. So it's 5. This is like 5. If you like a lot of garlic, you can put a little more in. I'm gonna put this. These are probably big, so maybe I'm gonna put 3 in there. You can also, if you want to do this in your blender, you can. You could use that wand. So I'm smashing the garlic though. Maybe if I move back a little more, you can see that. Oh, good. There.
Maureen, we have a question. Someone
Yeah.
wants to know, can they substitute the vinegar for lemon juice?
You can, absolutely. Lemon juice makes a delicious salad dressing. Sure. You can use lemon juice, oil, like we make one, lemon juice, oil, garlic, and sea salt. And that's what we put, that Greek pasta salad, that's what we put on there.
Oh, okay.
This one that I'm making now, we use this for like our regular salads. It's just like a basic balsamic vinaigrette or a red wine vinegar. At work, we use red wine vinegar because I like the taste of it. So here's your vinegar, right? Put the garlic in there. So that Roma seasoning I showed you earlier, again, no salt added, works really well. You put about this, like the crook of your hand here, that's about a teaspoon. Again, I don't really measure, but this is about a teaspoon. Grate it all up, throw that in there. So now you got that. Then again, with the salt, this is that I use that Malden sea salt that I showed you earlier. That's what I use. And I'm gonna put about that much in there, right? And then the rest of it is olive oil. So I'm gonna fill the top with olive oil. And again, if you don't like olive oil, use the oil of your choice. Because you're the one eating it. There's gotta be something that you like, you know, don't force yourself to eat something you don't like. The important thing is to just know what you're putting in there. And so that's it. That's it. That's all. If you want to make it thicker, you can blend it. I don't like it thicker. I like to stir it and then use it as I go, right? But so it's a thing called like emulsification. I don't even know if that's a word actually, but to emulsify salad dressing, if you were to use a blender, you can put the vinegar, your herbs, and all that in the blender, turn the blender on and stream the oil in slowly, and it'll blend it. And it's thick, it'll make it very thick and it'll stay thick. So if you like a thicker salad dressing, that's what you would want to do. I like a thinner dressing, so I'm pretty happy with mine like this. So this is it. This is just like as easy as can be. It's super cheap. You can keep it in your refrigerator. It lasts like forever. So, and again, you can substitute lemon juice, or vinegar of your choice, lime juice, you know, it doesn't matter. But the important thing is to know what's in it, what you're eating. You can make this like, so then if you want to make a creamy coleslaw dressing, let's say, you really do start with white vinegar. You do add a little bit of sugar to it and then add the oil, blend it, it'll thicken it, and you can use that for thicker dressing. So it works really well. Okay, so now I'll show you. So now I'm going to get a plate out here. Just getting some salad. All right. So the chicken's done. Just taking a little bit of lettuce with of the spinach. do this, just mix it so it looks pretty on the plate, right? So this here, you can see. So this is, here's our finished chicken breast, right? You can even eat two, because you know what, these breasts are only, they're 4 ounces each, right? So that's not even like 8 ounces, because we took 1 4-ounce breast and then sliced it in half. I'm just stirring the salad dressing up a little bit. So this has a lid, and what I normally do is just like pop the lid on there and shake it up to stir it, you know. And then I'm gonna drizzle a little bit of salad dressing on there. And then you could, from there, you can taste it and see if it needs more, if it needs less, but that's a beautiful dinner for anybody. And let's see, we started at what time? 5:30? It's at 6:30, it's 1 hour later. Here's our garlic bread that is very hot, because it just came out of the oven. There you go. Yeah, see? Now, if you want it like more toasty, you could leave it in longer, but it's crunchy and good. And these little loaves are perfect, because, I mean, the truth is I could eat one of these myself pretty easily, but it's like, maybe it's 7 ounces. It's like 2 slices of bread, but it's really good bread. And then you could, from that, you could even make tomato bread with the sauce that you have left if you wanted to with that, and add cheese on it. There's all kinds of things you can do with it. Okay, so there's that. Let me check that lasagna. See what's happening with that. It needs, the lasagna needs another minute. I'm going to leave that in there. And while that's cooking, I just wanted to want to show you a couple other things. So I grabbed these. So when you're cooking and making things, you know, oftentimes you need chicken stock, you need beef stock or vegetable stock. Again, if you read the label of what's on these, this has water, chicken, onion, carrots, leeks, cabbage, celery, and salt. So when they're listing the ingredients, by law, you have to list them in order of what's the most to the least, right? So if you're reading ingredients and you see on there, if the first ingredient is salt, that means that is the highest, that thing that you're buying. The salt is the most thing that's in there. I'm saying that backwards, but so keep that in mind. They list things in order of how they appear in the concentration in what you're buying. Legally, these things have to be by law. So if your first ingredient is chicken and you're buying chicken stock, that's great. But if your first ingredient is sodium or some type of a word describing sodium, that's not so great. Or if it's like some chemical word that we don't even know how to pronounce, that's not so great. And the same thing with, so this is the vegetable stock. This is water, onion, carrots, leeks, celery, extra virgin olive oil, and sea salt. That's it. That's all that's in here. So again, if you're cooking, if you know what you're starting with, it's just going to make so much difference in terms of your long-term health, because you're not going to be ingesting all these secret additives because you're just unaware. You know, they hide things in there like sodium. They use sodium for preservation and flavor. So if you load things up with salt and sugar, number one, it tastes good. And number two, people will eat it. But the worst part about it is you're hungry like after an hour or two, right? Because your blood sugar spikes up, then it spikes down. And so if you just get in the habit of reading things before you buy them, it'll, and it'll make a big difference. It'll just make a big difference. Okay, let me check this lasagna. So it's looking pretty good. It'll take about 40 minutes really, but I didn't make a big, highly layered one. So I think that they're going to be better. I think it's gonna be just fine. I'm gonna take that out here. There, let's see what we got. And you can use any cheese in these that you like. Like traditionally, lasagna is going to have a blended ricotta cheese. It's it'll have ricotta with some eggs in it, and then we'll put some other cheese in there. You can do that if you want. I don't really like a lot of cheese in my lasagnas, which is really weird, but because most people do, and that people love them super cheesy, but I don't. So this is just a really small, but you can see how nice the layers look, how pretty they are. So this would be considered like a chicken and pepper lasagna. Again, super healthy. It's good for you. But it tastes good. It's not like diet food or anything. I mean, it's good. It's delicious. There.
So Maureen, what if people know, I know in lasagna, most people use the ricotta, but if someone doesn't like ricotta, what's a good substitute for ricotta? To still give it the taste, but not the ricotta.
So, I mean, do you want it like fluffy? It kind of depends on how you want it.
You still want it that fluffiness.
So if you want it fluffy and you don't like ricotta cheese, you could use, well, how do they feel about cottage cheese? Because believe it or not, people use cottage cheese for lasagna.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use a cottage cheese and you can blend it first so it's not chunky, right? And then you can use that and put that and then season it just how you would a lasagna. And they work beautifully.
Okay.
This is another little trick here. So this is also a really good item to have on hand, like when you're making sauces. It's a tomato paste in, you know how at the grocery store they sell those giant cans and you only need like a tablespoon. And then you're like, what do I do with the rest of it? And then you throw it in your refrigerator and then never use it again. So this guy is great because it literally is like a tube of toothpaste. And then use it, I know. And they have this, they have a garlic, there's anchovy, there's a basil. So they come in really handy for cooking. If your sauce, like let's say you wanted that tomato sauce to be a little thicker, you can add some of this to it and just let it cook for a little bit and it'll thicken it right up.
Now, where can they find that, Maureen? Someone in the chat said they use that all the time. Rebecca.
Oh, well, we sell it, but maybe the grocery stores have it too. I don't know, but I use this all the time. I think it's a great product, but maybe Whole Foods will have it or.
Well, Rebecca said Walmart.
Yeah.
Where's that?
Walmart.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. They probably have all the flavors too. It's awesome. They're so worth it.
I like that. I like that idea. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's not wasteful. You know, yeah, it works out really well for sure. I was worried that we weren't going to get through these things, but
you did good on the time. Did great on the time. Well, let's open it up and see if people have any questions that you didn't put in the chat. Anyone have questions or comments? You feel like you can do this at home? I never thought about making marinara. I just buy it. But you put something, you made it look so simple. I'm gonna try it.
I mean, it's so easy. It's so simple. You're gonna be like, I cannot believe that I buy that. Yeah. Yeah, and it tastes so much better too.
And I can control the salt. I think that's the biggest thing that I took away, that I can
That's
control
a big,
the sodium.
and the sugar, because if you read the cans of tomatoes, almost all the cans of tomatoes have salt in them and they have added sugar, salt and sugar, salt and sugar, and they don't need to be in there. There's, first of all, depending on what region in Italy you're from, people like from where my mom was from, we would never, ever in a million years think of putting sugar in our sauce. Like, oh my gosh, that's like blasphemy. However, there are other regions that's why I'm running a disclaimer here, just in case, that will.
I think Maureen, I think you froze up.
Yeah, she froze up a little.
Yeah.
But now,
I think,
Felicia, I always thought that you put a little sugar in
I was gonna say,
sauce. So
that's how I was
cut
raised.
the
That's how I was raised.
acidity
I don't know
of
about
the
anybody
tomato.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I was raised. My grandfather, my mom, and my dad always added some sugar to the sauce but they made it from scratch. They made it from
Mhm.
scratch, but they always add.
And the reason is because the tomatoes sometimes can be very acidic.
Mhm.
Okay, we
Oh,
lost.
yep, she's done, but I think she did confirm that the reason why we add a little sugar is to cut the acidity of the tomato. Because sometimes
Oh, okay.
tomatoes can have a really, like a strong, acidity to it, that, the sugar helps to kind of balance that out.
Balance it out.
So
Okay.
not so much that you're tasting sugar, but just enough to cut the acidity. I think that's what Maureen was sharing with us.
Yeah, that's hi, I'm back. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was, is that you'd sprinkle a little bit of sugar in there just to take away the acidity of the tomatoes. Absolutely. And that's why people would do it, because maybe the tomatoes, maybe they, whatever, they picked them too early or it didn't ripen as much that year, or maybe your family likes it that way, which is fine. But to buy things that already have sugar added in them is just trouble, because you don't know how much they put in there. And and especially if you're a diabetic and you're really trying to do a good job to watch your sugar, and then you're thinking, oh, gosh, I don't understand why I'm being really careful. How come I can't regulate this stuff? And then you see that these things that you're eating, you're doing your best job to take care of your diet, but you got kind of an industry of prepared foods working against you. So it's just the more you can be careful and educate yourself about it, the better off you are. And these are just little things to do that will change, that will make it have a really good, strong impact. And by the way, this bread, it's yeast, flour, and water. That's it. That's it. I get it from the baker. He bakes it for us. So again, if you look and see what they have in it, you just want to be careful.
Okay. Thank you, Maureen. Did you all have any other questions? And Neil was so kind to put the link to Dunning's Gourmet Market in the chat. So look in the chat, and the link for Dunning's is in there. Rebecca says, thank you, Maureen. The menu again is in the chat. Neil just put the menu in the chat. So what we just want to do is encourage people to try these things, because like I've never would have thought to make sauce. So just wouldn't have. And then you made the lasagna look easy. It always takes my dad.
So simple.
It always takes my dad like 9 days to make lasagna, so I just don't make it, because I'm just like, what, I'll just buy it already made. But you made it look really simple. Yeah, so
It is simple.
I like
it is simple. It really is. And
see.
if anybody has any questions or anything, when later, or about anything, call us. We answer questions for people all the time at Dunning's. We do a ton of cooking there. We have a lot of experience. We can, we want to help everybody live a healthier, happy life while eating delicious food, because it is completely possible to do both just for the, I mean, it's so possible to do both. You don't have to give things up, and we're here to help in any way. Call us, we'll answer any of your questions, or if you want to know how to make something, just ask us, we'll tell you, no problem.
And then Maureen, before we go, tell them about your supper cup.
So we have a prepared meal program. Actually, it's called the Supper Club. And it is a program, we send a menu out every Thursday, and there's like 3 or 4 entrees, some side dishes, fully prepped dinners for you to assemble and bake in your house. The idea is you can get a really good dinner in 30 minutes or less, or maybe 45 minutes. People love it. It's a quick, easy way to, have something great for dinner that you don't have to worry that is this good or bad. It's, the food's delicious. And you can eat at home without eating fast food. So it's good.
Yeah. Yes, and for those of you who someone put HelloFresh in the in the chat, so HelloFresh does the meal thing too. But to get gourmet food is just a little bit different. And like even during COVID, Dunnies would bring the food to your home and just ring your doorbell and let you know that your food is outside. So it was very convenient to still have good meals during COVID, and not have to spend $1 million on it. So thank you so much for sharing supper.
Yeah, thank you. One thing about our program is that like we have people who have all kinds of dietary restrictions. They are gluten-free, or they can't eat, whatever, fill in the blank. We make everything. So we can change a recipe to suit somebody's dietary needs without a problem at all. We are confident of that. So therefore, if someone wants, a stuffed chicken breast, but they can't eat, panko breadcrumbs, we substitute and we use either cornstarch or, gluten-free breadcrumbs. We thicken our soups with cornstarch, blah, blah, blah. So we're very cognizant. We just want everybody to eat really delicious food, and we love making it, and we love you enjoying it. So.
And now I'm going to share one last comment with you, Maureen. Someone said, I used to make spinach lasagna, and since the vitamin K restriction, I felt my dish was lost to me. So I'm excited to pick up some zucchini to try. So thank you so much.
Very good. Good. Yay. Good.
Yeah. So yes. So any other questions or comments, thoughts? Okay, and Carlisa, did you want to share anything in regards to before we close out?
Well, just thank you, Maureen. We really appreciate you having come join us this month, and we look forward to Felicia again next month. We're going to continue our mental health wellness series through the end of this year. So please join us next month, where we will be preparing our minds and getting our minds right for the holidays. So join us.
I think could I join you for that?
Yes, we're talking about holiday health and wellness. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And Felicia is amazing. She's amazing. I have been friends with Felicia and watched her, she's like my role model. She's an amazing, amazing person, and always inspirational, always.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are just excited glad that you all joined us for this evening. We know you could have done anything else during this evening. Okay, Maureen, someone is asking, how can they get information about the Supper Club?
Well, you can go on our website every week, click on the calendar, and then click on the Supper Club, and you can register from there. And I should just say, the menu is going to open. You could read the menu, but it's not going to charge you a dime. So if you want to just cruise through it and see, you can call us and we'll be happy to walk you through it. Or we always post our menus on Facebook every week as well. So you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram and check it out there too. But the menu changes every week, and it's directly dependent on what's in season and literally what I feel like eating, like those two criteria. Yeah.
Right. And Neil is so kind. See, he's so kind. He put everything in the chat. Yes, he put the phone number for Dunnings, he put the website for Dunnings, and he put the link for Dunnings Facebook page. So please, if you want, please check out Dunnings. Like I said, it's a great option. And also they cater and they deliver. So right, Maureen? Okay, I think she's frozen again, but look, I see her now.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I actually you froze. What did you say,
okay.
Felicia? I'm sorry.
No, I was saying that you all cater and you deliver.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I enjoy. When I have events.
And we deliver our supper club too. Yeah.
Yeah. When I have events, I usually call Maureen and she puts together a menu for me, and then they'll deliver it or I'll pick it up. And so it's just good food. Whenever I put Maureen's food out, it's like I put it out and then I turn away to go do something. When I come back, it's usually gone. And I'm not talking about a little food, like it's food for hundreds of people and it disappears in no time. So she has some great options and some healthier options. And,
Yeah.
So
and
someone
I
said
know a couple people joined late, and so the recording will be available for those who joined late, and as well as the ingredients and the instructions around the meal that Maureen prepared. So that information will be available. Thank you everyone for joining. Don't forget the rosé for the cook, because that's a part of it.
I mean, I chose rosé because that was what was open in my refrigerator.
Okay.
Whatever your preference.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. And I just think as we close, we just want to remind you all that we are what we eat. So let's make some healthier choices, especially as we're going into this holiday season. That we don't want to add stress to our plate, add more stress by making poor food choices, but we can make healthier choices and the food can still taste good. So that's what we wanted you all to walk away with today. So
absolutely. Yep.
So thank you so much. And we have to thank Neil. Thank you so much, Neil, for everything. We appreciate you. Thank you, Carlisa. And again, all of the links are in the chat if you all want to check out Dunnings Market and make some different choices. So I don't have anything else. I will see you all next week as we talk about holiday health and wellness. So, okay.
Right. Good night, everyone.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you. You guys have a great night. See you later.
Bye-bye.